Welcome to Module 2. In this module, you will learn about the basics and fundamentals of web design, and we will also dive into web development. But don't worry, because we are not going to develop a website right now, but you have to understand how web development works, because throughout your career, you will work with a lot of developers, and it's important for you to understand what they're talking about. If you want to be a top web designer, you have to know these concepts. The same way a good architect has to know how construction works, we have to know how web development works. Let's begin. In this module, we have 8 lessons, and here they are. In this lesson, we will dive into the various professional disciplines that play crucial roles in the design and development of websites. Understanding these roles is essential for anyone involved in the creation of user-centric websites and applications. We will explore the unique contributions of UX designers, UI designers, and web developers, and see how their skills and responsibilities intersect to create seamless and engaging digital experiences. By the end of this lesson, you will have a clear understanding of these professional roles and how they collaborate to produce high-quality digital products. This knowledge will enable you to better communicate and work with different experts in the field, ensuring that your projects are both visually stunning and highly functional. So what is the difference between UX designer, UI designer, and web developer? A UX or user experience designer focuses on the overall feel of the app or website, ensuring that it's easy and satisfying to use. They think about how users will navigate and interact with the system, aiming to make the user's journey as smooth as possible. UX design is not exclusive to digital products. To give you a real-life example, today I was walking at the park with my son and saw a very convenient ramp for strollers next to the stairs. That's good UX because I, as the user, had a very good experience. A UI or user interface designer is someone who focuses on how apps and websites look. They design the visual elements like buttons, text, and images, ensuring that everything is visually appealing and styled consistently. Just like UX, UI design is also not limited to digital interfaces. For example, consider the layout and signage of a large conference or event. A UI designer working on an event will focus on creating clear, visually appealing signage and informational displays. They would design wayfinding signs, schedules, and interactive kiosks that help attendees navigate the event space, find sessions, and access information easily. This involves choosing appropriate colors, fonts, and symbols to ensure that information is quickly understood, enhancing the overall experience for event participants. So every time you go to an event or a conference, just look around, and everything you see and experience that was designed by UX and UI designers, not web designers, obviously, but I'm talking about people that are dedicated to make sure that the experience for the attendees in this case is amazing. And digital UX and UI designers do the same thing, but instead of doing it in the physical world, they do it digitally. A web developer is someone who builds websites. They turn the design ideas into a website that works. They make sure that everything that you do, on the website, like clicking buttons or entering information, works properly. So what is a web designer? A web designer often integrates elements from all 3 disciplines. We need to have a good grasp of UX principles, UI design skills, and basic understanding of web development. This combination allows us to create comprehensive and functional websites that look great and provide an excellent user experience. And to be clear, you don't have to be an expert web developer, but you'll have an edge over other designers if you understand the fundamentals of web development. If you notice, I added this small circle here because I want you to see and understand that most of your focus should go to UX and UI. Development is a small part of what you should focus on, but it's still important. In this course, you will learn the basics of web development. And by joining our private community, you will gain access to more advanced techniques. So join us today if you haven't already. You will also discover the power of combining your design skills and understanding of development with other amazing disciplines like branding and copywriting. This well-rounded knowledge will enable you to create more effective, functional, and visually appealing websites, making you a more versatile and competitive professional in the field. In this lesson, you learned about the key differences between UX, user experience, UI, user interface, and web development. UX focuses on the overall feel and ease of use of a product. UI deals with the design and interactive elements users engage with, and web development involves the coding and technical implementation of websites. Hey, what's up? In this lesson, I will explain you what Figma is, we will install it, and I will walk you through the application so you can understand the basics. If you already know how to use Figma and you have Figma installed, you can skip this lesson and go to lesson 2.4. That lesson is called Understanding the Web Design Principles. So let's go. So what is Figma and why it's used for web design? Figma is a cloud-based design tool that is primarily used for interface design, including web and mobile applications. It provides a collaborative environment where multiple users can work on a design simultaneously, making it very popular among teams for real-time collaboration. Figma uses vector graphics, which allows you to create designs that can scale infinitely without losing quality. This is crucial for creating crisp and professional-looking designs. Figma's component system lets you create reusable design elements. You can create a component once and use it across multiple designs, ensuring consistency and saving time. With Figma, you can create interactive prototypes. This means you can simulate how your design will work in real life, allowing for better user testing and feedback before development begins. As I mentioned before, Figma supports real-time collaboration, which allows multiple team members to work on the same design simultaneously. And this is very powerful. Figma supports a variety of plugins that can extend its functionality. These plugins can automate repetitive tasks, add new features, and integrate with other tools, making your workflow more efficient. Figma also includes features that help you design accessible products. You can check contrast ratios and ensure your designs are usable by people with disabilities, making your designs more inclusive. It has a built-in version control, allowing you to track changes and revert back to previous versions of your design. Auto layout in Figma helps you create responsive designs that adjust automatically based on the content. This is very useful for designing interfaces that need to adapt to different screen sizes and orientations. Now it's time to install Figma and set up your account. The first thing you have to do is go to figma.com and then click this button here where it says Get Started. When you click, this will pop up. And here you can continue with Google if you have a Gmail account, or you can add your email here and your desired password and click Create Account. After you click Create Account, you will receive a verification email that you can find in your inbox, and you just have to click the button where it says Verify. After clicking the button that verifies your email, you will be taken to this screen. This is the browser version of Figma. However, we will not be working here because it has some performance limitations. Therefore, we will install the desktop version to ensure a smoother and more efficient experience. The next step is to download and install Figma, and to do that you have to go to figma.com/downloads and you will see this page. Now choose the version of Figma that's right for your operation system. Click the link to download the installation file. If you are on Windows, find the installer file in your downloads folder. It will be named something like Figma Setup. Double-click this file and start the installation. If you are on a Mac, it's the same thing. Go to the downloads folder and you will see a file named figma.dmg or something like that. Double-click to open it. After finishing the installation process, click to open the application. Log in if you are asked to with the same email and password you used when creating the account. Now we will navigate the Figma interface so you can see how everything is structured. So this is the first thing you will see. This is the Figma home dashboard, and we will start by creating a new design file. So to do that, you just have to navigate here to the top left and then click this plus sign. You will be taken to this page and you have to click on New Design File. And this is your first design file. And the first thing we will do is change the name of the file. We can just navigate here and then click here. And you can name it whatever you want. I would just say, inside your Figma design file, you will see that the interface is divided into four main areas: the main toolbar on the top left, the properties panel on the right, the canvas in the center, and the layers and pages panel on the left. Let's briefly go through these to help you understand how to navigate and use Figma efficiently. The main toolbar, located on the top left, contains essential tools that you will use frequently while designing. This includes tools for moving objects, creating frames, drawing shapes, adding text, and more. The toolbar also houses the Resources tool, which allows you to access plugins, components, and theme libraries, making it easy to incorporate various assets into your designs. In the center of the interface is the canvas, where all your design work happens. This is your main workspace where you place and manipulate elements like shapes, text, and images. You can zoom in and out to focus on details or get an overview of your entire design, making it a flexible and dynamic area for creativity. On the left side, you will see the Layers panel. This panel displays all the elements in your design in a structured way, allowing you to manage and organize your layers, groups, and frames efficiently. And don't worry too much about the names and the concepts and all this stuff, because in the next module, when we start designing our website, you will discover what each of these do. Above the Layers panel is the Pages panel, and you have to click here in order to expand the panel. This panel helps you manage different pages within your design. You can create new pages, rename them, reorder them, duplicate them, or delete pages. This feature is especially useful for organizing your work into separate sections or projects. On the right side of the interface is the Properties panel, which changes dynamically based on the selected object. This panel provides detailed controls for customizing your design elements. You can adjust positions, sizes, colors, text styles, and more. It also includes options for adding effects and setting up interactions for prototyping. In this lesson, you will learn what Figma is and why it's used for web design, as well as how to install Figma and navigate its interface. In this lesson, we will go through the essential tools available in Figma and explain how each one can be used effectively in your design process, along with practical examples. Let's start with the shape tools. These tools include various geometric shapes such as rectangles, ellipses, polygons, and stars. These tools are useful for drawing basic shapes that serve as building blocks for more complex designs. You can combine, customize, and manipulate these shapes to create intricate patterns. You can also create icons and other design elements. Let's create a simple shape using the Rectangle tool. Begin by selecting the Rectangle tool from the main toolbar on the top left of the Figma interface. Now click and drag on the canvas to draw a rectangle. Aim for a medium-sized rectangle in the center of your canvas. Next, we'll change the fill color of the rectangle. And to do that, click on the rectangle you just created to select it. In the Properties panel on the right, you will see the Fill property right here. Click the color box below Fill to open the color picker. And then choose a new color for your rectangle. Now you can see the new color applied to the rectangle. Now let's add and customize the stroke or border of the rectangle. In the Properties panel, find the Stroke section and click the plus icon to add a stroke to the rectangle. Click on the color box below Stroke to open the color picker and choose a contrasting color like orange, for example. Then adjust the stroke width by entering a value in the width field right here. Set the width to 6 pixels to make it more visible. Now you can see the border right here. And we can make the border, thicker, just adding a higher value here, for example, 40. And we can see how thick it is now. You can also customize it. Let's say that you want only the bottom, right? So you click here and you can see it. Or let's say you want the top, you can see it. Or the left side, you see it. You can also customize the width of each side independently by clicking here and then custom. And let's say that you want the bottom to be 90, right? And the top to be 10. And then the right side to be 20. So, you can play with it. Let's change the border because this looks very ugly. So let's go here and then click all. And then let's change it to 60. Like all sides to 60. And here we have it. Now I will show you some cool stuff you can do with the border. To access the advanced options, click the rectangle on your canvas and go to the Stroke section in the Properties panel. Click the 3 dots to open the little panel that contains the advanced stroke settings right here. With this option, you can change the stroke style from solid to dashed or custom patterns. For example, selecting dash allows you to create dashed lines by specifying the length of the dashes and gaps, just like this. For more complex patterns, choose Custom from the Stroke Style dropdown. In the Dashes field, enter a series of numbers separated by commas to create a custom dash pattern. Each number represents a length of dash or gap. For instance, we have the default here, 120, 240, 360, and 480, and this creates varying dash lengths. And if you want to change the numbers, just click here, and you can add any numbers you want. In the dash caps option, you will see none, square, and round. The none option keeps the ends of each dash as straight cuts, like this. Square extends the ends of each dash to form square edges, like this. And then round rounds off the ends of each dash, like this. Now let's talk about the join option. This setting controls how corners are rendered where two lines meet. The options are miter, sharp corners, bevel, flattened corners, and round, rounded corners. Adjusting this affects the appearance of the corners in your shape. And this is how this looks. This is miter, this is bevel, and this is round. If you select the miter option, you can specify the miter angle, which determines how sharp the corner should be before it bevels off. This is useful for controlling the sharpness of angles in your design. The miter angle option is very confusing, but don't worry, I will explain you how it works. The miter angle and bevel options in Figma both address how corners are rendered, but they serve slightly different purposes and offer different levels of control. The miter angle setting allows for more granular control over when a corner should switch from miter join, a sharp corner, to a bevel join, flattened corner. For example, if you set the miter angle to 90 degrees, any corner with an angle of 90 degrees or less will be beveled, while any angle greater than 90 degrees will remain a sharp point. And this is useful for designs with varying angles where you want to maintain sharp corners above a certain degree while beveling sharper angles to prevent overly pointy edges. The bevel option, on the other hand, uniformly applies a bevel corner to all angles in the shape. This is a, simpler and quicker solution if you want all corners to be beveled without considering their individual angles. It ensures consistency across all corners and is easier to apply when you don't need the conditional control offered by the miter angle. The miter angle, though, gives you the flexibility to control which corners are beveled based on how sharp they are. This is particularly useful in complex designs where maintaining sharp corners for some angles and beveling others is desirable, like in this custom shape I'm showing you right now. So in a nutshell, the miter angle is best for detailed control over specific corner angles, like this, while the bevel option is ideal for quickly applying a uniform bevel effect across all corners, ensuring a simple and consistent look without additional adjustments. By understanding and utilizing these settings, you can enhance the precision and aesthetics of your designs in Figma. Feel free to experiment with these settings to see how they affect the look and feel of your designs. If you have any questions about this or anything else, you can send me a DM in the private group, or you can ask in the comments if you are watching this on YouTube. Before I forget, let's quickly explore the strokes position. You can choose whether you want the stroke inside, center, or outside, and it offers practical benefits in design. For instance, if you are creating a button, placing the stroke inside ensures the button size remains unchanged, fitting perfectly within a layout, just as you can see right now. Centering the stroke places half of the stroke inside and half outside the boundary, which slightly increases the button's overall dimensions. And then positioning the stroke outside enlarges the button's total size and clickable area, just like this. This flexibility helps achieve precise and functional design outcomes. Finally, we will add some effects to the rectangle to enhance its appearance. In the Properties panel, find the Effects section and click the plus icon to add an effect. The first effect added by default is a drop shadow. Adjust the setting for the drop shadow by setting the opacity to 50%, blur to 10, and both X and Y offsets to 5, just like this. These settings will give the rectangle a subtle shadow effect, making it look more three-dimensional. There are other cool and simple features like adding a gradient color, an image, or even a video. Feel free to explore these options at your own pace. Now let's talk about the Move tool. This tool is the default tool in Figma, represented by a cursor icon. It allows you to select, move, and resize objects easily. To select objects, click on the Move tool or press V on your keyboard. Click on any object to select it. If you want to select multiple objects, hold the Shift key and click on each object. Moving objects is very simple. Click and hold on a selected object, then drag it to a new position on the canvas, just like this. This makes rearranging elements quick and intuitive. Resizing objects is just as straightforward. Click on an object to select it, then drag the small handles that appear around the object to adjust its size, just like this. You can also group objects, and that helps to keep your design organized. Select multiple objects by holding Shift and clicking on them. Then right-click on the selection and choose Group Selection, or you can also press Ctrl-G or Command-G if you are on a Mac. You can also align objects, and to do that, select the objects you want to align and use the alignment options in the Properties panel to adjust their positions. Understanding and using the Move tool effectively is essential for arranging elements in your design. Mastering this tool will improve your efficiency, making it easier to quickly adjust layers and align objects. Okay, cool. So you've learned how to create a shape, change its color, and add effects in Figma. These basic skills are essential for creating visually appealing designs. Practice these techniques to become more comfortable with Figma and enhance your design projects. Alright, so now let's talk about frames. Frames in Figma are fundamental elements used to create layouts and organize your design. They act as containers for objects like shapes, text, and images. Understanding and using frames efficiently is crucial for designing in Figma. And basically, every time you design a website in Figma, you will be using frames as containers instead of shapes. And that's because with frames, you can apply different features like auto layout, nested frames, layout grids, and more. But don't worry about this right now. I will explain them more in detail later in the course. For now, let's create a frame. To create a frame, start by selecting the Frame tool in the toolbar on the top left, right here. Next, click and drag on the canvas to create a frame of the desired size. You can also use the predefined device screen sizes also here in the Properties panel. Okay, so now I will show you how to resize and adjust frames. To resize, click on the frame to select it. Then drag any of the handles on the corners. Holding the Shift key while dragging will maintain the aspect ratio. To adjust the position, click and drag the frame to move it to a different location on the canvas. You can also use the arrow key on your keyboard for precise adjustments. Now let's add some content inside of the frame. Frames can hold various types of content, such as shapes, text, and images. To add shapes, select the Shape tool from the toolbar, choose a shape like a circle, for example, and draw it inside the frame, just like this. To add text, select the Text tool from the toolbar or press T, then click inside the frame and start typing. To add images, drag and drop an image file from your computer directly into the frame, or use the Place Image option from the menu. You can also copy and paste inside the frame. Just make sure that the frame is selected, because if not, the element will be placed outside of the frame, and that can cause a lot of confusion when you start editing and organizing the content. Now let's talk about nested frames, and pay special attention to this because you will be using this a lot. Okay, so frames can be nested within each other to create complex layouts. To create a parent frame, we will press F and drag, and this will be the parent frame. I will change its color so you can better visualize the hierarchy. To add child frames, create additional frames inside the parent frame by drawing new frames within its boundaries. These child frames can hold their own content and child frames inside of them and be independently adjusted. I hope this is not too confusing, because as I said before, you will be using this a lot. And if you have any questions and you are watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment and I will do my best to answer. And if you want, you can also send me a DM in the private group. Now let's talk about aligning and distributing elements. To align an object, you select the object within the frame and use the alignment buttons in the Properties panel, right here. And with these, you can position the selected object. You can also manually align objects by dragging them to the desired location. However, manually aligning multiple objects can be time-consuming and be prone to errors, leading to misaligned elements and potential overlap. There are other ways to align multiple objects as well, and you can do it by using the alignment buttons in the Properties panel, right here. This aligns the objects relative to each other or the frame. While this method is quicker than manual alignment, it can still result in overlapping objects if they are not initially grouped. To distribute objects, you select multiple objects and use the distribution buttons in the properties panel found right here to evenly space them horizontally or vertically within the frame. This ensures that the spaces between the objects are equal. A better way to align and distribute objects is with auto layout. Auto layout in Figma automatically adjusts the position of elements within a frame based on predefined rules. It ensures that objects are properly aligned in space, preventing overlap and maintaining a consistent layout. And don't worry too much about auto layout right now, because I want to make sure that you understand it well, since it's a very powerful tool. It can be a little bit confusing to understand in the beginning, but once you grasp how it works, you will love it and use it very often. We will go more in detail later in the course. For now, I just want you to get familiar with the name. Frames are a versatile and essential part of Figma that help you organize your design. By mastering frames, you can create clean and organized layouts. Practice these steps and you will become more proficient in using frames in no time. And always feel free to experiment and explore more advanced features as you become more comfortable with the basics. And to solidify your understanding, you will have some exercises at the end of this module. This will help you practice and really master the use of frames and shapes in Figma. Keep experimenting and soon you will be creating sophisticated designs with these. Let's move to the next topic. Now we will explore how to add and format text and images in Figma. Let's break down the process into simple steps for both text and images. To add text, select the text tool from the toolbar on the top left or press the T key on your keyboard. Click anywhere on the canvas and start typing to create a text layer. For formatting text, you can choose your desired font from the text section in the properties panel on the right here. Here you can change the font, the size, the style, the space between lines, letters, and you can also set the alignment. There are also some extra settings you can access by clicking on the three dots right here. Now let's talk a little bit about images. To add an image, you can drag and drop an image from your computer directly onto the Figma canvas. You could also use the Place Image option from the File menu right here. Then select the image file you want to insert. Now let's say you want to resize the image, right? To do that, click on the image and drag the corners while holding the Shift key to resize it while maintaining its aspect ratio, just like I'm doing right now. You can also further customize the image by selecting the image and then going to the Fill section in the Properties panel here on the right side. And then you can click here and you will see this panel pop up, right? And here you can crop the image. You can also change the exposure, the contrast, the saturation. You can rotate the image. So there is a lot of things you can do. Feel free to explore and try different settings. You can also use shapes to mask your images. This is a very cool feature actually, and it's very easy to do. First, draw the shape you want to use as mask. Then place the image you want to mask on top of it, like this. Next, drag the cursor to select both the shape and the image. And now right-click and choose Use as Mask from the menu. Or you can also click the mask icon in the top toolbar right here. And you have to pay attention because if the image is behind the shape, it won't work. This is what would happen. To fix this, select the image and then right-click and then bring to front. And now let's do it again, and it works. Let's say that you want to resize this image inside. What you have to do is click anywhere inside of the mask, double click, and then go to any corner and then press Shift, maintain Shift, and then drag. And that way you can resize the image inside. And if you want to resize the mask, you should go to the Layers panel right here, and then click the shape, in this case the polygon, and then go to the shape and to any corner and press Shift, maintain Shift as well, and then drag. And if you want to resize the entire shape, you can do it by clicking once, going to a corner, and then pressing Shift, maintaining Shift, and that's it. You can resize. If you don't maintain Shift pressed, this is what can happen, right? It doesn't respect the ratio of the image. So these are the basics on using image mask in Figma. And you can do this with any shape. Like, let's say you want to do it with a star, right? Just like this. Or maybe a circle like this. So it's very nice. And here are some other things you can do with images. You can also add a stroke to images here in the properties panel. And you can also add different effects like a drop shadow. And you can also change the corner radius here in the properties panel as well. You can also change the size right here. Now that you know the basics about text and images, let's move to the next topic. All right, so let's dive into Figma plugins. Plugins extend the functionality of Figma, helping you automate tasks, integrate with other tools, and enhance your design workflow. Let's break down the essentials of using plugins in Figma. Figma plugins are third-party tools that you can install to add new features or streamline your workflow. They are developed by both Figma and the Figma design community, covering a wide range of functionalities from design automation to content generation. To access the plugin library, you can do so by clicking the resources icon on the top left toolbar, or simply by right-clicking on the canvas and then going to plugins and then manage plugins. Installing plugins is very easy. You just click here and then search the plugin, like Unsplash, for example, and then click Run. That's it. The Unsplash plugin is very useful, and it's a plugin that allows you to insert high-quality royalty-free images into your designs directly from Unsplash, just like this. And if you want to run the plugin again later, you can do it by right-clicking on the canvas, go to Plugins, and then click on the plugin you want to run. I've made a list of some essential plugins on the resource page. You can access the resource page by clicking the link in the description. And always experiment with different plugins to find the ones that best suit your workflow and project needs. In this lesson, you will learn how to use Figma and its tools, create frames and shapes, add and format text and images, and the usefulness of Figma plugins. By understanding how to use Figma's features, you can effectively design and organize your projects. In this lesson, we will go through a quick overview of the main web design principles. Throughout the course, you will learn each principle in more detail, but right now I want to make sure that you understand the fundamental concepts of how a website should be designed. This lesson will give you a solid foundation and context for the lessons to come, helping you to see the big picture of what makes a website not only attractive, but also functional and user-friendly. So let's get started and explore the key principles that will guide your web design journey. There are 14 main principles, and we will start with balance. Balance means arranging elements on a page so that no one part is too heavy. And we have two types of symmetry, symmetrical and asymmetrical. Symmetrical balance is like a mirror image, with elements equally spread on both sides. Asymmetrical balance uses different elements on each side, but arranges them in a way that still feels balanced and visually pleasing. So let me give you an example of each, right? So for symmetrical balance, imagine a web page with two columns. On the left, there is an image of a product, and on the right, there is an equal size image of another product. Below these images, there are two blocks of text with descriptions of the products, aligned perfectly under the image. This creates a mirror-like effect, making the design look formal and balanced. And for asymmetrical balance, imagine a seesaw with a large child on one end and two smaller children on the other, right? Even though the children are different sizes, the seesaw can still balance. On a web page, you might have a large image on one side and several smaller images or blocks of text on the other side. The different elements balance each other out visually. The second principle is variety, and variety involves using different shapes, colors, and sizes to create interest in a design. It prevents the design from being too monotonous and keeps the viewer engaged. For example, a website for a children's toy store uses a mix of bright colors, different fonts, and various playful shapes to keep the design lively and engaging. This variety keeps the user interested and entertained while browsing the site. Number 3 is contrast. Contrast is about making elements stand out by using differences in color, size, and shape. High contrast makes text easier to read and important information more noticeable, helping to draw the viewer's attention to key parts of the design. For example, on a news website, headlines are often in a bold black text on a white background. And this high contrast makes the headline stand out and easy to read, drawing attention to the most important information first. Number 4 is alignment. Alignment means lining up elements to keep the design neat and orderly. This can be along the edges or in the center, ensuring that everything looks well organized and professional. For example, a professional portfolio site might align all text to the left and ensure all images are also aligned along a common edge. This alignment creates a clean and organized look, making the content easier to follow. The fifth principle is movement. Movement guides the viewer's eye through the design. It helps direct attention to important areas by creating a visual flow, making the design feel dynamic and engaging. For example, on a fashion blog, movement can be created by arranging elements to guide the reader's eye from a large eye-catching image at the top down through the content with smaller images and text, leading to the call to action at the bottom. The next one is scale. Scale refers to the size of elements in relation to each other. Using different sizes can show which elements are most important and create a sense of hierarchy in the design. For example, an architecture studio's website might feature large images of their most important projects on the homepage with smaller images of other projects below. This use of scale highlights the key achievements first, while still showcasing additional work. Number 7 is proportion. Proportion refers to the relationship between the sizes of different elements. It ensures that all elements look balanced and the design feels cohesive. For example, on a coffee website, a large photo of a steaming cup of coffee is the main focus, with smaller photos showing the steps of the brewing process. This proportion ensures that the most appealing part of the content, which is the finished cup of coffee, stands out. Number 8 is emphasis. Emphasis means making a particular element stand out so that it catches the viewer's eye first. This can be done by using a different color, size, or shape, helping to highlight important information. For example, an e-commerce store can have a product that is on sale, and when you go to the collections page, you would see a lot of different products, but that product that is on sale would have a badge, maybe that says on sale or something like that, right? And that's emphasis, because they want to make sure that you notice that that specific product is on sale. Number 9 is hierarchy. Hierarchy involves arranging elements to show their order of importance. This helps guide the viewer's eye from the most important to the least important information, making the design easy to understand. For example, on a blog post page, the title is usually the largest and most prominent element, followed by the subheadings and then the body text. This hierarchy guides the reader's attention from the most important to the least important information. And obviously the body text is very important, right? But if you don't read the title, right? And if the title is not interesting, you will not proceed to read the body text. And that's why this is a very good example of hierarchy. The 10th is rhythm. Rhythm creates a sense of movement through repetition and pattern. It helps to create a cohesive look by repeating elements like colors, shapes, or lines, making the design feel more organized and engaging. For example, an online magazine might use a repeating pattern of article previews with images and headlines. This repetition creates a rhythm that makes the design feel cohesive and helps users easily scan through the content. Number 11 is unity. Unity ensures that all parts of the design work together harmoniously. This makes the design feel consistent and complete, with each element complementing each other. For example, a brand's website uses the same color scheme, fonts, and design elements across all its pages. This unity ensures that all parts of the site feel like they belong together, creating a harmonious and professional look. Now we have number 12, space. Space, or white space, is the empty area around elements in a design. It helps to reduce clutter, making the design easier to read and understand and giving elements room to breathe. For example, a minimalist design blog uses plenty of white space around images and text. This space makes the content more readable and allows each element to stand out without feeling cluttered. Number 13, repetition. Repetition involves using the same elements throughout the design to create consistency. This makes the website look cohesive and helps users recognize patterns, improving navigation and user experience. For example, an e-commerce site might use the same button style for all add to cart actions, throughout the site, and this repetition helps users recognize the action they need to take, creating a consistent and user-friendly experience. And now the last one, number 14, proximity. Proximity means placing related items close to each other. This helps to organize information and makes it easier for users to understand that these items are connected. And an example would be on a contact page, the form fields for name, email, and message are grouped together closely. This proximity indicates that these fields are related and should be filled out together, making the form easier to understand and use. So that's it. Now you've discovered the main web design principles and know how to use them. These principles help create visually appealing and user-friendly websites. By understanding and using these principles, you can improve the layout, usability, and overall design of your web projects, making them more effective and engaging for the user. In this lesson, you will learn about the main ideas and tools used in web development. This will help you talk to developers, understand what is possible with your designs, and design functional websites. So why do web designers need to understand how web development works, right? Because we are designers, right? We don't need to write code or anything. So why do we need to understand how this works? I will explain you why right now. Here are 5 key ways this knowledge will benefit you. Number 1, you will communicate better. As a web designer, understanding the basics of web development is crucial. When you grasp web development concepts, you can communicate more effectively with developers. This means you can clearly explain your design ideas and understanding their feedback, and that leads to better communication. Number 2, you will create more realistic designs. Knowing how websites are built help you create designs that are feasible to develop. You can avoid making designs that are too difficult or too impossible to turn into real websites. And this makes your designs more practical and achievable. Number 3, you will solve problems more effectively. And that's because if you understand how development works, you can think of solutions that work both for design and development, which is essential for creating a successful website. Number 4, you will collaborate better with your team. Working with developers becomes smoother and more efficient when you know the basics of web development. You can collaborate better, ensuring that the website looks good and functions well. This teamwork is crucial for a successful project. And lastly, number 5, you will improve user experience. Understanding web development also helps you design websites that load quickly and are easy to use on different devices. You can comprehend what affects the website's performance and user experience, leading to a better design overall. And with that, the end of this lesson. In this lesson, you learn why web designers need to understand how web development works. Knowing the basics of web development helps designers create designs that are practical and feasible to build. This understanding leads to better collaboration with developers, more efficient workflows, and ultimately, more successful web design projects. So now that we've discussed the benefits of understanding web development, it's time to dive into the core technologies that make web development possible. To build and design effective websites, you need to be familiar with 3 fundamental languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Together, these 3 technologies are essential for front-end development. And what is front-end development? Front-end web development is the practice of creating visual and interactive parts of a website that users interact with directly. It focuses on the design, layout, and user experience. We will go through the main languages used for front-end development. Let's start with HTML, the skeleton. HTML is like the skeleton of a body. Just as a skeleton provides the basic structure for a body, HTML provides the basic structure for a web page. It defines the elements and how they are organized, like the bones define the shape and form of a body. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it consists of a series of elements, also known as tags, which define different parts of the content. For example, H1 is a tag used for the main heading, while P is used for paragraphs. HTML provides the basic structure of a website, allowing you to add text, images, links, and other multimedia elements. And HTML looks like this. This is the code, and the first thing we see is the doctype HTML tag, and this line is called the doctype declaration. It tells the web browser that the document is written in HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML. The next tag we see is this one, HTML, and this tag starts the HTML document. Everything inside this tag is part of the web page. The next one is the head section, and this section contains meta information about the web page, like the title, character set, and links to CSS or JavaScript files. This information is not displayed on the web page itself, it's internal. So when you visit a web page, you don't see this information anywhere. Now the title tag. This tag defines the title of the web page, right? So this appears on the browser tab and helps users understand what the page is about. And when you see a slash in the name of a previous tag, it means that the tag is being closed. In this case, we are closing the head tag, and this means that any content below this tag is not going to appear on the website, right? So I hope this makes sense. As I said before, you don't have to, memorize all these or anything. Just become familiar with it. Now we see the body tag. The body section contains all the content that will be displayed on the web page, such as text, images, links, and other elements. As I mentioned before, the H1 tag is used for the main heading of the page, and this heading is usually the largest and most important piece of text on the page. And the P tag is used for paragraphs. It defines a block of text that is separated from other content by some space. And this right here is the image tag. The image tag is used to insert images into the web page. The src attribute specifies the path to the image file, and the alt attribute provides alternative text to describe the image. This alt text is important for accessibility and is displayed if the image cannot be loaded. So if the website breaks for some reason or the user has images blocked, the alt text will be shown instead of the image. The HTML code we just saw looks like this in the browser. And this is obviously something very basic just to show you, but with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can create amazing websites. Now let's talk about CSS. CSS is like the flesh and skin of a body. Just as flesh and skin provide color, texture, and form to a body, CSS adds style and appearance to a web page. It controls the colors, fonts, layout, and overall visual presentation of a page. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It consists of a series of rules that define how HTML elements should be displayed. For example, you can use CSS to change the color of text, set the background color of a page, or control the spacing between elements. Here is an example that includes CSS styles for the body, H1, and P elements. The body selector applies styles to the entire body of the web page. It sets the background color to a light blue, giving the entire page a soft blue background. The H1 selector applies styles to all H1 elements on the page. It sets the font to Arial, the font size to 24 pixels, and the color to blue. This means that all H1 elements will use the Arial font, be size at 24 pixels, and have blue text. If Arial is not available, it will use the default sans serif font. Sometimes specific fonts might not be available due to browser limitations or other factors. In such cases, we can instruct the browser through CSS to use a different sans serif font. This same approach can be used for serif fonts as well. If you are not familiar with the terms serif and sans serif, don't worry, because you will learn these concepts in the next module when you start designing your first website. The P selector applies styles to P elements on the page. It sets the font to Arial, the font size to 14 pixels, and the color to black. This means that all P elements will use the Arial font, be size at 14 pixels, and have a black text. And remember that P stands for paragraph. So CSS enhances the HTML structure by providing visual styles, making the web page not only functional but also visually appealing. And this is what happens when we link the CSS style to the HTML. And now let's move to JavaScript. JavaScript is like the nervous system of a body. Just as the nervous system controls the actions and responses of a body, JavaScript adds interactivity and dynamic behavior to a web page. It enables web pages to respond to user actions, update content dynamically, and perform tasks without reloading the entire page. It's basically a programming language that runs in the browser. It allows developers to create interactive features such as form validation, animations, and real-time updates. And JavaScript looks like this. Working alongside the HTML and CSS, JavaScript enhances the functionality and user experience of a website. So here is an example to illustrate how JavaScript works, right? Imagine you have an HTML file with a heading element, H1, that you want to make interactive. To link to an external JavaScript file, you use the script tag placed just before the closing body tag. This ensures that the HTML content is fully loaded before the JavaScript runs, just like I'm showing you right now. When you open a web page, the browser loads the HTML and builds a structure of the page called the document object model, also called the DOM. The DOM represents the elements of the page like the headings, paragraphs, and images in a tree-like structure that JavaScript can interact with. To make sure that our JavaScript runs only after the whole page is loaded, we use this code. This tells the browser to wait until the HTML is fully loaded and ready before running the code inside this function. Think of it as waiting until all the pieces of a puzzle are in place before starting working on it. Inside this function, we use this code right here. And this is to find the first H1 element on the page. The query selector method is like asking the browser to select a specific part of the page. In this case, it's selecting the main header. Next, we add an event listener to this heading using this code. And an event listener is a way to make the browser listen for certain actions like clicks and respond to them. Here, we are telling the browser to do something when the heading is clicked. When we click the heading, the function inside the event listener runs, which displays this alert box that says you click the heading. An alert box is a simple way to show a message to the user, and it pauses the interaction until the user clicks OK. Here we can see a file structure of a website, which is a folder that includes HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And remember, first we create the structure, which is the HTML, then we style it with CSS, and then we finally add interactivity with JavaScript. Oh, and we have the image that shows in the website here as well. So now we just learned how JavaScript works alongside HTML and CSS. And once again, do not worry too much about all these words and concepts. I just want you to have a basic understanding of how the anatomy of a web page looks like. You don't have to memorize all these terms, and you don't have to write any code. Just become familiar with these terms, and if you feel really brave, you can complete the optional exercise about building a basic HTML page at the end of this module. And if you have any questions, you can just let me know by leaving a comment if you are watching this on YouTube, or better yet, send me a DM if you are a member of our private group. Now let's talk about backend development. Backend development is like the brain of a website. Just as the brain controls the body's functions and processes information, backend development handles the server-side logic, database interactions, and the functionalities that users don't see. It ensures that everything works behind the scenes to deliver the correct information and services to the front end. And here are the main technologies and languages. Python processes data and handles server logic. It is often used with frameworks like Django and Flask to build web applications. And you might be asking, what on earth is a framework, right? So a framework is a set of tools and libraries designed to help developers build applications more efficiently. It provides a structured way to organize and write code, so you don't have to start from scratch for every project. Think of it like a blueprint or a foundation that includes pre-written code and guidelines to help you create software faster and more easily. The next technology is Node.js. Node.js allows JavaScript to run on the server side. While JavaScript is typically a front-end language, Node.js enables it to be used for back-end development as well, handling server requests and interacting with databases. PHP is a server-side scripting language for dynamic web pages and is commonly used with content management systems like WordPress. Ruby is another server-side programming language often used with their Ruby on Rails framework to build web applications. And finally, we have SQL. SQL manages and interacts with databases. It is used to store, retrieve, and manipulate data in relational databases like MySQL. And that's it for this lesson. In this lesson, you learn what the core web development technologies are and what they look like. These technologies include HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You've also learned the difference between front-end and back-end web development. All right, so in this lesson, we will explore the concept of no-code development. No-code web development is a way to create websites without writing any code. It uses special tools that let you build websites by dragging and dropping elements like text, images, and buttons. It's like using building blocks to make something without needing to know how to code. This makes it easier for anyone to create websites without needing to learn complicated computer languages. Now we are going to explore the best no-code web development tools. These are the ones I use and the ones I always recommend. The first one is Framer. Framer is a powerful tool that lets you design and build interactive websites quickly. You can use simple drag and drop features to add text, images, buttons, and more. It's great for beginners and also offers advanced features for more experienced users. And then the second one is Webflow. Webflow is a bit more advanced, but still doesn't require coding. It allows you to design and develop responsive websites with ease. You can create complex designs and animations, making it ideal for more detailed projects. And the one I will teach you how to use is Framer, because Framer is easier to understand for people that are just starting out. And also, in my opinion, it is better for designing websites that are simple but visually appealing and interactive. Framer's intuitive interface and versatile design options make it perfect for creating stunning websites quickly and easily. And if you learn how to design and then build your designs with Framer, you will possess two very powerful skills. This will enable you to bring your creative ideas to life and create professional quality websites on your own. And you are probably asking, when will we start building with Framer, right? You will learn how to use it and build your first website in Module 10, but don't rush, right? If you are a beginner, go through all the modules one by one and don't skip any module or lesson. If you are more advanced and want to reinforce your knowledge, also go through the entire course without skipping anything. No matter how experienced you are, you will always learn something new. In this lesson, you learned what no-code web development is and what the best no-code web development tools are. No-code web development allows you to create websites without writing any code, using visual tools and drag and drop interfaces. You also explore some of the best tools available for no-code web development, which makes it easier to build and customize websites even if you don't have programming skills. Congratulations, this is the end of Module 2. Now it's time to practice what you've learned. I've added some exercises for you to practice, and you can find them on the exercises page. To access the exercises page, click the link in the descriptions where it says Module 2 Exercises. So very well done, and I will see you in Module 3.